So, hello everyone. My name is Deborah, as Amir just said. And did you know that in the UK, billions of pounds are lost every year in productivity of the lack of soft skills in the UK? So, in other words, there's a huge skills shortage in terms of those soft skills. And actually, those skills are often overlooked and undervalued. And more now than ever, those are going to be the things that will make us stand out. And my book is called Stand Out, actually, 5 key skills for the future to advance your career. And while I was writing the book, I had to interview lots of training managers, learning and development managers, HR people, people that do interviews a lot. And one of the things I really wanted to find out from them was what are they looking for when they do an interview? So it's quite interesting seeing what you put up on the poll, because a lot of you were saying personality and confidence and passion. Not that many of you saying skills. And absolutely, the interview is the chance to actually see what superhuman skills you have. It's the best place for them to actually see this stuff, whether it's you demonstrating it or whether it is you giving examples of it. Now, this is a short session, but I guarantee you that if you listen and are committed to the session, I'm going to share with you some of the top secrets that I've discovered from some of these people. And just using a few of those will make you stand out. And I guarantee you, you'll have a much better chance in those opportunities that are coming your way. Now, I'm a founder of a company called Dramatic Training Solutions. And what we do is we bring behavior to life. We bring situations, behavior to life. And that's why I've got all of my team, or a good chunk of my team, on with me today. These are amazing guys. They are performance facilitators, business actors. And we've worked together all over the world, training people in soft skills. Actually, 80 different countries we've been to in the time we've been working together. So the company's been going for 27 years. Obviously, that was pre-pandemic, of course. We're not traveling now. We're doing it all this way. But yeah, we've met a lot of different people. And the reason for having the actors is because it makes it more fun to watch. It's more dynamic and it helps to make the learning stick. And this session is going to be no different. So we're using the actors because Drew is going to be our student, is playing our student today. And what you're going to see is you're going to see Drew's ups and downs throughout an interview, making mistakes. And that's because we don't want you to make those mistakes. We want you to learn from his mistakes in a safe, comfortable place. Now, we do want you to interact. There's going to be opportunity, and we'll remind you of this, to get involved in terms of putting your comments in the chat box. But let me introduce the team for you. So first of all, I've already mentioned his name. So Drew, do you want to say hello? This is Drew.
Hi, everybody.
He's playing our student today. And then we've got Joe and Simon, who are going to be, yep. Hi, guys. They're playing the HR manager, the talent director, the people that you might get interviewed by for some of these programs. And it is just worth saying at this point that whatever they say is actually based on some research. So when they actually speak out and tell you their thoughts, it's actually coming from real life. It's not just made up. Also, Denny is joining us, and Denny is going to be doing some extremely valuable input. And I won't give anything away about the first part of the interview, that initial first impression. Hi, Denny.
Hiya.
And then we've also got Mark, who is going to be our on the chat. So anything you put on the chat that you want fed back, Mark's going to be on the case. He's going to be reading that out, and that way we can make sure we keep it really nice and interactive. So hi, Mark. Nice to see you.
Hey, Deb. Hi, nice to see you.
Yeah, and then finally, Tom. So Tom is going to be manning the question and answer box. So we want you to put your questions in there. So save the chat for the feedback and put your questions in the question and answer box, because at the end we're going to leave about 10 minutes to get some questions so that we can make sure that we cover the most important things for you.
Hello.
So I'll ask, thank you, Tom. Yeah, hi. Thank you, everybody. So what we're going to do is we're going to get started. We're going to get started with our story. So I'm going to ask everybody to go off the screen. except for Drew. So Drew's going to stay on because Drew's going to tell you a little bit about himself and what is happening for him right now and his circumstances and what he's going to be doing. So over to you, Drew.
Hi, everyone. As Deb said, I am Drew. I am just finishing university now, and basically I've got a job interview tomorrow morning for a large car rental company. And the interview's on Zoom, so I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I kind of hate the idea of doing an interview on Zoom. Yeah, I just feel really nervous. I don't really know how to prepare for a Zoom interview, so we'll see how it goes. There's also one more thing. Obviously the restrictions have just been lifted, and it's the first party in 18 months tonight, and I can't miss it. So, I mean, my interview's at 11 tomorrow, so I think I can get away with that, and I'm going to go to that tonight as well.
Lovely. Thank you, Drew. We'll see more from Drew in a second. But that's interesting in that it just straight away, Drew's saying that he's more nervous about a Zoom interview. And it has to be said that majority of interviews are taking place on Zoom at the moment because of the pandemic. But actually, the research is saying that more interviews will be done on video in the future. So we do have to get used to this. At least the first interviews will be in this medium. So we have to get used to it. It is more nerve-wracking in lots of ways, and you do have to work that much harder. But we'll find out more about that as we run through the session. So in a minute, what we're going to see is we're going to meet our two interviewers, the people that Drew's going to be meeting in his Zoom interview. So I'd like to invite Joe and Simon on because they're going to tell us a little bit more about what they're looking for when they're interviewing young people like you for future opportunities. So over to you guys.
Okay, thanks very much, Deborah. My name is Simon, and as Deborah says, I'm the HR manager for the UK operation of a pretty large car rental company. And an important part of my job is overseeing our management trainee graduates. If you've been selected for an interview, then you meet the entrance requirements, and the interview is finding out what type of human you are and whether you fit in with our company culture, and really importantly, if you've got the passion and the drive to want to be part of our vision. Now, I've actually got quite a lot of experience in interviewing, and I've attended loads of training courses over the years, but I'll be honest, it's hard not to make judgments on first impressions. So if you can make it easier for me by doing some homework and being prepared, I'll forgive you being nervous, and I'll do my best to make you feel more comfortable. But I'll be honest, I do find it hard to get past somebody who apparently doesn't seem to care. Okay, so I'm looking for a connection, a good communicator, someone that can build relationships naturally and who'll be an active member of the team. Now, this should be evident in the interview itself, and particularly by any examples that you might give me, because I'll quickly weed out if you're blagging or if you're exaggerating the truth in an interview. What I need from you is real life evidence and examples that back up what you say, but we'll come to that a bit more later. Joe?
Yes, hi. I work with Simon, and I'm also very involved in the graduate recruitment programme. My job's to look after the talent in the business and look for leadership potential, which is why this programme is so important, because this is all about the future. We want skills that will be transferable across departments and teams. The future of work is likely to see more change, and the ability to get on with people, collaborate with and inspire others is going to be essential. I'm less concerned with technical skills in an interview, as at this stage we have established you're qualified. I want to see superhuman people skills and how you stand out from the hundreds of applicants. It's not about how extrovert you are, but do you demonstrate empathy? Do you listen? And how persuasive are you when selling yourself? I don't want to see a human robot. I'm happy to be challenged and see some confidence and assertiveness.
Lovely. Thank you, Simon and Joe. That just gives us an insight into what these guys are looking for. So some interesting things I was saying. You know, when I was doing all the research for my book, these people were telling me that they really wanted to see in the interview those soft skills. So they want to see that you are easy to connect with, that you can build rapport. That's going to be important in the future if you're going to be moving across teams. They want to know if you can listen, and that listening isn't just about using your ears. It's about being really conscious and committed to the listening. It's about having the empathy. And one of the ways you could show empathy for your interviewer is to actually prepare and make the interview as easy as possible for them so they can make the most informed decision. And then also, of course, they want to see how much you can inspire and persuade them that actually you're the right candidate for the job. But what we're going to do now is we're going to actually see beginning of Drew's journey. We're going to see Drew do his first part of the interview. And a lot of you said on the poll that you thought that actually a minute was about as much time as you might get. Well, actually, the bad news is it's less than that. It's approximately 29 seconds. So 29 seconds is that magic amount of time. So what we're going to see is that. And what I want you to do is while you're watching it, put some feedback in the chat box, because after the scenario, we'll stop and we'll get some feedback from you, and then we'll get some feedback from the guys doing the interview. So I think what we're going to do now is I think we're going to join and we're going to see Joe and Simon waiting in the Zoom, ready for Drew to come on.
Hi, Simon.
Hi, Joe. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Did you see the email from Kelly?
I did, yeah. I'm sorry. I meant to get around to it. I've not got back to her and you yet. There are a few things I still need a bits of evidence from other people before I can really, properly draft a response. But it should be up by the end of play today, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So we're seeing Drew, are we, this afternoon?
Yeah, although he doesn't seem to be here and it's past time.
Yeah, it's a bit late.
Yeah, I get that.
Oh, here he is.
Ah.
Ron, you're on mute.
Sorry, everybody. Zoom caught me out. It had to update just as I logged on, which is typical, isn't it? I'm really sorry. And I haven't changed my name either, which is from a family Zoom the other night. I'm so sorry. It's lovely to meet you all anyway.
Yes. I'm Joe. I'm head of talent, and this is Simon, my colleague, who's our HR manager. Drew, I'm just wondering what you already know about the program.
Yeah, I did some research, and it just seemed like the perfect fit for me, and it was something that just seemed I could really thrive on, and I just liked the sound of what you guys offered, and I just thought I could offer something myself.
Right.
Okay, let's take a time out there and we'll let Drew and Joe and Simon go off for a moment and let's see what you guys thought. So this is our first impression, the first 29 seconds. And of course, we're making this dramatic and we're exaggerating it a bit. But Mark, can you just join me and let me know if we've got anybody that's made any comments? What do the students think of Drew's performance so far?
Yes, hi Deb, we do have some comments so far. So late, exclamation mark, not a good start. And then Ron Weasley, not prepared. Big no-no. We also have no eye contact, unfocused, and then a bit of a messy start, and he's still reading. So quite a few comments coming in there. Very distracted also, it's just come in.
Yeah. Yeah, see, the thing is that he was probably nervous anyway, but he's got really caught out. But what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our interviewers and find out a bit more about what they actually thought. So perhaps we could have Joe back first. I think Joe wants to. What did you think, Joe? How did that go for you?
Well, I'm not sure he has potential as a leader, but maybe a wizard. Oh, it's such a shame. It's going to be hard for him to recover after that. Ironically, if he had been able to take responsibility and refocus when I asked him about the program, yeah, I think he could have got back on track, but he wasn't listening. He seemed distracted. Things happen, of course, but you know, you do need to show you can recover.
Okay. And Simon, what about you?
Well, I think that's actually pretty generous of you, Joe. For me, he's blown it. I don't care how well the interview goes from now on. I can't really get past how unprepared he was. It's actually rude. You know, we've given up our time and we've been waiting here like mugs to get that. So it's inexcusable. Sorry, folks, but that's how I feel.
Well, it's actually, funnily enough, some of the students are putting on the chat box, so they totally agree with you, Simon. So I don't think it's too extreme at all in terms of you've given up your time, you're there waiting, and that's what you get. The thing is, we've got 29 seconds to make that first impression. So we need to make the most of it. That's not to say that we can't overcome it, but it's human nature for us to actually start looking at the evidence we're getting very quickly. And that's where we start forming our biases and our judgments. And of course, if we get off to a bad start, then what we'll find is that the interview will be harder because they will be trying to find evidence to prove they were right in the first place. So the better the start, the better the interview is going to be. And in fact, it sets the scene for everything else. Now, of course, you will be nervous. It would be very odd, almost sociopathic, if you weren't feeling nervous. It suggests that you care. And that's also what that also does is creates this human survival mechanism, which is our fight, flight response, or even worse, is a freeze, where actually, if we're not careful, we stop thinking. So that fight, flight, freeze kicks in. It raises our levels of cortisol and adrenaline. And then we've got all those chemicals running around our body. We start to get warm, you get sweaty palms, you might find your heart rate going. And on Zoom, it's amplified 25%. So it's much harder in this medium as well. So one of the ways you can really help yourself to be in the moment and conscious and present is to do as much preparation as you can so you feel confident. Well, what we're going to do now is we're going to hand over to Denny. And Denny's going to give you some really fantastic tips on what to do to prepare yourselves. I mean, obviously, we're going to be preparing the actual questions and what you're going to answer. But I'm going to hand over to Denny now, and she's going to come on and she's going to talk to you about how you can prepare you and your impact. Thanks, Denny.
Thanks, Deb. Thank you. So, yes. So how are you going to make the most of those 29 seconds?
I feel good.
So
thanks.
That's Siri. I don't think we need Siri for this bit. So there are 3 very simple things that I'm going to share with you that can make a big difference in that short amount of time you've got to make that first impression. Firstly, it's about preparation, and you need to prepare for an interview on Zoom or on virtual medium, just as you would in any other interview. That means you need to think about your personal image, how you're looking. And then you also need to be comfortable and confident in order to connect with the interviewers. So let's get Drew back and let's see if we can help Drew. Hi, Drew. How are you doing?
Oh, I don't know. That didn't go that well, did it?
No. So shall we see what we can do to help?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. So first of all, I want you to imagine that you're going for an interview on a face-to-face basis. Would you arrive 10 minutes early or 10 minutes late?
10 minutes early.
Okay, and why would you do that?
So you give yourself time to settle and get ready for
exactly
the job ahead, yeah.
Exactly. So you need to do the same thing in the virtual world. So 10 to 15 minutes before, you need to come on camera, you need to check how your image is looking. You need to look and see what they are going to see. So do that now. Looking at you,
Yeah.
This is what they're seeing. What are they seeing? What's the first thing they're going to see?
My background, I guess.
That's right. Now, I'm loving the backdrop personally, but do you think it's the right backdrop for the interview?
No, it was from a family Zoom party the other day. I will turn that off immediately. Let's get.
Okay. Great. Okay, so that's great. So you've got your kind of domestic background. These are very, it's perfectly fine for Zoom. People understand we're all at home. Now, lighting. here's the thing. It's good to get a bit of light onto your face, the front of your face, natural light or any light you can. Have you got any lighting you can add in to the front of your face?
Let me just, I've got one over here. Turn on. Like that.
That's
and then one right there.
Great. Okay, can you see that difference now?
Yes, definitely.
Yes. So this helps us connect across the space, because if I can't see, if you're in shadow, it feels like I can't really hear you, and it just means I don't feel connected to you in the same way. Okay, so in terms of the frame you're in, we're in these little rectangle boxes. You're nicely framed here. You're in the center. That's great. And also your eye contact is good. So you're looking at me a bit, and you can also look at the camera if that's comfortable.
Okay.
Practice that before, not the whole time, not fixedly staring. Occasionally you might just want to kind of, have a look to that. Again, don't try this in the moment. Practice it if you're going to do it. But it's fine just to look at me like this. Great. Okay. So that's all looking good. In terms of your grooming, you look very well groomed, which is great. Outfit, did they talk about?
I was told it was smart casual, so I went with something that was, a bit colourful and show my character a little bit. That's what I thought.
Perfect. It's really nice. It works really well.
Okay.
Great. And so already you seem a lot more relaxed on camera talking to me now. Can you feel that?
Yeah, I just feel a bit more, less panicky, I think.
Yes.
First thing, yeah.
Yes. So, it's absolutely natural to feel nervous when we're in an interview situation. We all do. Okay. So what can you do? So taking a deep breath is going to help. Also, if you have your feet firmly on the ground, so don't cross legs and things like that. So if you can, that just helps ground you a bit, makes you feel and you're nicely sitting. I like your posture. So you want to be sitting up and looking engaged, but not military. No, not too much. Yeah. So that's it. Just to relax those shoulders a little bit. That's it. Good. But note that, you're not slouching. Yeah, that's looking good. Lovely. And now I'm going to ask you to take a breath. I want you to breathe in for 7 seconds, hold it, and then breathe out for 9. So just try that, okay? Breathe in through the nose, hold it, and then out through the mouth. It's important you breathe out for a little bit longer than in, because that's what helps to stabilize your nerves. So if you start to find that fight flight kicking off, the adrenaline and the heart rate, this can help relax you.
Yeah, I feel much better after that. Just taking a minute to bring myself back down.
That's right. So do this before, and then when you're ready, then you forget all about how you look, because you look great. You don't need to worry about that. Your background, you're breathing nicely, and you can just focus on talking to them about you and being as natural as you can in this medium. Fantastic. Looking good. Good luck.
Thank you, Denny.
You might want to take just one look at your name, Drew. I think that might be still.
I need to change my name. Let's
change your name.
Right.
This catches people out all the time. They have all sorts of things on their screen. The other thing that can happen in your Zoom is that it can default just being your surname as well. So it's really worth just checking that out, because obviously that's what people see on the screen. And, if you want to, you can also add where you're from on that, on your name. So it's sort of a good way of getting a bit of rapport going at the beginning of one of these interviews. Thank you so much, Denny. It was very useful stuff. Thank you, Drew.
Good luck, Drew.
Thank you, Denny.
Mark, I'm just going to ask you to come back on screen, because I think we've had a few things in the chat box, and I wonder if there's anything that we wanted to have a look at before we go on to the next stage.
Yes, Deb, there was a really interesting question that was put forward by Sally. It says, I thought that smart casual meant something smarter than a sweatshirt. Am I wrong then? What are your thoughts on that?
No, you're not wrong. I'm going to be really honest with you. A couple of things. Maybe Drew could probably smarten up his act in terms of what he's what he's wearing, but he wanted to be comfortable. So I guess that's what you have to weigh up. But yeah, smart casual could be anything from, a shirt without a tie or a very smart top. So dress to give you confidence. That's what I would say. And most people won't tell you anyway. They don't tend to give you a dress code. Thanks, Mark. Great. Thank you. And by the way, if you've got any questions throughout, just put them in the question and answer box as well, because we're going to come to that at the very end. So if you've got anything that you want to ask, chuck it in there. That'd be amazing. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next part of the interview. And this is where we are going to be looking at the questions. Now, a lot of interviews these days are what they call behavioral interviews or competency-based interviews. What that means is they will be looking for certain behaviors, certain soft skills, certain competencies like teamwork, empathy, connection, that sort of thing. So they'll be asking you questions to help you to demonstrate that. But let's get Simon on for a second and find out from Simon what it is that he expects when he's asking these sorts of questions. Yeah, Simon, what are you looking for?
Okay, what I'm not looking for is the dog barking in the background, so I apologize for that. But in terms of what I'm looking for from an interviewee, I totally get that students, they may not have work examples, and that's absolutely fine. But it is possible to demonstrate that you've got those superhuman skills in other things you've done. So prepare some examples of what you've done that demonstrate your interest and enthusiasm for this area of work. And this could be internships, experience, volunteering, extra qualifications, those sort of things. Soft skills that are hard to find are people skills and the ability to inspire, motivate, and influence others. So if you've got examples of this in any part of your life, it'll really help you stand out from others.
Lovely. Thank you, Simon. That's really useful. So, well, let's see what happens then when Drew goes back into the interview and has to answer some of these questions. So I think it's going to be Joe that's actually asking Drew some questions here. So we get Drew back on as well and I'll go off. Let's see what happens.
So Drew, I'm now going to ask you some questions about key skills we're looking for from this programme. If you could give me some examples from previous experiences or things you've learned at university or any walk of life, try, if you can, to be specific and tell me about the results. Let's look at teamwork first, how you work in a team. Can you give me some examples or an example of where you've successfully contributed to the success of a team?
Well, I mean, I've obviously been working in a team at uni, but quite a lot of it has been remote. So, well, we had a project to complete and I worked well in that. Yeah.
Right. Thanks. Let's move on to influencing skills. Tell me about a time when you've had to sell an idea or inspire someone to work with you. How did you go about it?
Do you mean in a job or at university?
Either's good, Drew.
Oh, actually, I set up a football team in my my village that I live in, and I had to do a lot to make that happen.
Well, great example. What did you have to do?
I organised it. I had to persuade people to take part. It was a real challenge, but it all paid off in the end.
Okay, thanks, Drew. So, Mark, anything in the chat box? Any feedback at all about how Drew did in that part?
Yes, Deb, it's coming in now from Makadidia. Drew is not convincing. Jenny Moe, he wasn't giving examples. Now they're all rolling in thick and fast now. Not enough content. He did not really answer the question as well. Those are some of the comments that are coming through right now.
Okay, lovely. Yeah, so this is the thing. Joe actually did have a good example because Joe actually said it was a good example. He just didn't make the most of it. But Joe, do you want to just come pop back on a minute and just tell us what you thought? How was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, I know it can be hard to find examples, suitable examples, but I need evidence. Otherwise, I can't really make an informed decision. Drew didn't give any details. I need to know what he actually did and what the impact was, what he learned, etc. It was hard work, like drawing blood from a stone.
Yeah, this is important. You need to make the interview easy for the person that's interviewing you. They would have, hopefully, you'll be on the experience of some really good interviews, and they will have had training in this. And they should be working really hard to make you feel comfortable, to motivate you to give your best, to put you at ease and ask you questions that really challenge you. But you need to do your part as well, which is to actually give them the information that they need to be able to make an informed decision. And this is also demonstrating how you might work together in the future in terms of how you collaborate. So it's all evidence all the way through. So to help you, I'm going to show you, this is the only slide I've got, because I know you guys are probably sick of PowerPoint, but this is the only slide I've got just to show you a model that might really help you to shine in your interviews. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen and show you this slide. So this is a really useful model to help you when you're preparing, because when you're preparing, what you can do is start to think of your examples and how you might actually make this model work for you. The other thing that's really fantastic about virtual interviews is that you can have your notes and you can have post-it notes everywhere. You can actually, you know, have them spread all over. So that's one of the advantages. And to be honest with you, because we're talking about human skills here, I would actually tell them as well, you know, it's okay to say, I've got some notes, because that's demonstrating that you care, that you've done your homework, and also that you can be a bit vulnerable and human. So let's take a look at this model. So first of all, tell the story. So for Drew, you know, he said about his football team, but we got nothing. What happened? How did it work? What was it for? Let's hear the story. Storytelling is one of the key ways that we can really influence people. So this works both ways. You're telling the story and also you're demonstrating that you can tell stories to inspire. How were you involved? So don't talk about other people. You know, obviously if they're involved, it's fine, but if this is about you, what was your role in this? And what impact did you have? Because that's what they're really looking for. They want evidence to suggest that you can do these things. So it's about teamwork. What did you do to create that teamwork? What impact did you have on the team? And then the now. What was the result? What is happening now? What did you learn? Now, you know what? Some of your examples might not be perfect. You don't have to always talk about things where it went really well. You can also talk about things that were much more challenging and talk about what you learned. Because actually, that's another thing. It demonstrates your resilience and your tenacity. And that's what people are looking for. It also demonstrates a growth mindset, that you're willing to talk about your mistakes and failures as well. And I can tell you that growth mindset is another one of the really important things that they're looking for in the future. And then finally, whatever works for you in terms of your style and the way you come across, have some energy, passion, and enthusiasm for what you're talking about. Because if you don't believe in it, they most definitely won't. So use the SHINE model. It's a really great way to prepare, and it's a really great way to actually shine in your interview. And just to demonstrate, we're going to get Drew back. And this time he's going to be talking to Simon. And Drew's going to have a go at using the SHINE model. So Drew and Simon, if you want to come back on the screen.
Great. So Drew, can you tell me about a time when you've had to overcome a challenge to get something you wanted or have an idea taken up?
Okay. Well, I was involved in a charity called Schools for Schools in the Gambia in Africa. You know, my mother was a trustee for it, and basically the charity had set up some volunteer lodges. So we needed to find young people to volunteer for about 6 weeks during a holiday, helping with the schools and the younger children. It's something I feel really passionate about. So, you know, I decided to do a presentation to some of the students in my class, as I thought it'd be fantastic. I thought it'd be a brilliant thing to do for them. I'd spoken to a few of my friends, and you know they'd shown an interest, so I thought I could get more involved. I had to get permission from to set a presentation, you know, because it was difficult, basically, to find a space. Who do I persuade to get the space? So I did some investigation. I prepared to meet one of our course leaders, and I had a meeting with them, and I had to get them on board, and they were massively impressed with the idea. They got really behind it, basically. And so now once restrictions lift, we're planning to take over 20 students over to Gambia, and you know, they want to go over and help, and I think it's amazing. I personally feel so passionate about it. It makes me feel very good about myself, and I think it's going to really help with the charity, and it's going to give it a new loads of energy. And when I went over there, I had a life-changing experience. So I want to give these students the same thing.
Wow, fantastic. How's that for you, Simon?
That was a very different experience altogether. Yeah, and there was there was passion, there was like concrete examples, and it was something that fitted well both in terms of the ethics of the company, because we've got a kind of values proposition that actually matches very much with what he was doing. I don't know if that was just luck or he planned it, but it was great. And as I say, in the kind of people skills that he clearly talked about in terms of the interview were great. So that really helped.
Lovely, thank you. Thanks, Simon. Thanks, Drew. Yeah, if you've got any feedback on Drew for that last bit, then chuck it in the chat box. And Mark, what have we got so far? What are people saying now about Drew? I think we're all on his side, don't you think?
It's a whole new world. Now, well done, Drew. Great, well done, Drew. Much better. You told your story, kept interviewer engaged, sounds a lot more passionate and genuinely interested. Simon doesn't give much away though, does he, when he was listening to the answer?
Yeah.
There's somebody else said, did better.
That's a really good point. That's a really great feedback. And yes, honestly, this model, so good. It will give you more structure, more confidence, I promise you. And you've got to make it fit you. I mean, obviously we showed it to you in a fairly formulaic way then, because we're demonstrating. You've got to make it more conversational and make it fit you. But practice, get on it. What you can do, get one of your friends on a Zoom, practice, or your parents or someone, practice the interview and get used to using it. The comment about Simon not giving much away is quite an interesting one, because different types of people respond differently. And I think Simon is much more the thinker, much more the introvert. So he takes his time, he's more measured. And if you are more extroverted yourself, and I think Drew perhaps is, you might find that a bit disconcerting, because what feedback am I getting? What's going on? Now, remember, they're looking for people that are brave as well in these interviews, people that have courage. It's nothing to stop you saying, was that what you were looking for? Was that a good answer? Is there anything else I can tell you? So it's okay to ask questions back. Don't think that you can't challenge them as well. So it's all right to do that. In fact, that's demonstrating, again, some really important human skills there. Lovely. Right. Well, we're going to move to, actually, let's just get Drew back, actually. I want to know what Drew thought of it all. So Drew, come back for a second.
Hi.
Wait, how are you feeling about all that amazing positive feedback you're getting?
Yeah, I'm feeling supported. I feel like everyone was on my side eventually, originally, but they're just showing the support now, which is good to see. But
you know what this means, don't you, Drew?
What's that?
You're going to need all these people to come with you on the next interview.
Yeah, I can't do it on my own. Definitely not.
Yeah, you need all the help bit by bit. It's like having the little Jiminy crickets in the ear, isn't it? Giving you advice. Yeah, lovely.
I need a Denny on my shoulder to tell me what I'm doing wrong, I think.
Absolutely, that'd be good. But how did you find using Shine? How's that for you?
Yeah, I thought it was great. It really helped me prepare, and it gave me that sort of opportunity not to miss anything and make sure I got this really good point across. And it helped me talk about something that I find interesting and I'm really passionate about. So the nerves kind of just fell away as I was talking, because I knew exactly what I wanted to say. And there's this really amazing thing about virtual interviews is that I've got all my notes, I've got all my preparation right next to me, and no one can see it. So it actually makes it a little bit easier.
Do you know what was really interesting what you said there, Drew, when you said that when you started talking about your own story and you got really enthusiastic and passionate, that the nerves just drifted off. And this is another little tip for everyone. The nerves will go. It's almost like you have to embrace them, go with them, be aware of it. And then I promise you that once you get into it, they do drift away. I will say that sometimes you might get challenged. You might get a challenging question like Drew just did, and you can't think straight. So take your time as well. Relax, take your time, take that breath. It's not just at the beginning. Sometimes you might feel it during the interview as well. You'll have moments. So just take your time, okay? Right, we're going to look at the last part of the interview now, the final bit. the end. Now, if we get off to a great start and we have a good interview and then we, you know, just fizzle out at the end, then what impression are we leaving with them at the very last minute? This is the last thing you're going to do and say. So actually, let's just get Simon back on again, because he is our sort of critic a bit here. That's what he's got to say. Hi, Simon.
Okay.
What's the worst thing for you? When you're at the end of an interview, what's your pet hate?
Okay, to be honest, I can't stand it when they don't have any questions, because to me, it doesn't show much interest if they don't ask anything. I mean, there's got to be something that they want to know. And also, I think it's a great opportunity for them to show how much they want the opportunity. And it's also something that could be the difference between you and the next candidate, because as you say, it's the recency effect, the last thing you'll remember about them. So it's a great thing to kind of have something to leave me with.
Okay, interesting. All right then. Well, let's see what happens at the end of Drew's interview. And I want to hear from you guys in the chat box. How do you think he's done? Do you think he's got the job? What do you think? Let's just do this end bit. And I think it's Joe that's going to actually end the interview for Drew. So good luck, Drew.
Thank you, Deb.
So Drew, thank you for your time today. Did you have any questions?
Yes, I was wondering where would you see the successful students on this program progressing within the organisation in the future?
Oh, great question. I'd say there's no limits, actually. If you have the talent, there's no reason why you couldn't go right to the top if that's what you want.
Well, that's exciting. And finally, I'm really interested in this program, and I think it really fits my skills and my values. But I just want to know, is there anything that I haven't said that you need to know for me to get this job?
I appreciate you asking, actually. I would say you've given a really good interview. It's now up to me to consider you along with the other successful candidates, and we will get back to you very soon. By the latest, it will be end of next week.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Okay, let's just stay on. Just stay on for a second, guys. I'm really interested just to get a little bit of feedback. We'll get some feedback from our students watching as well in a minute. But Joe, were you surprised by any of those questions?
Yeah, I thought the very last. I mean, I think the aspirational question is one I would have probably hoped to hear. But the very last question, that kind of coverall, is there anything else? I did like that, because I think it made me think, and if there was something that we hadn't for whatever reason covered, then I could have asked it then. But also Drew then goes away knowing that he's done everything he can. So yeah, I thought that was a really good question.
Yeah, very brave. Drew, how did you feel about asking it?
Yeah, it is a push to do it, but I knew it is, and I know how important that question is, and how meaningful it can be at the end of an interview.
Lovely. Thank you. Thanks, guys. What did you guys think? Do you think that's something that you could ask at the end of the interview? I'd be interested to see what you guys think. So stick it in the chat box. Mark, how are we doing? I'm going to hand over to my roving reporter. It feels like you're running around the conference hall getting people's questions. Not quite, but it feels like that. How's it for you?
Some great feedback. Good question. Good question, Drew. Another good question with an exclamation mark. Drew should definitely be hired. He has pulled the interview through. So really good feedback there. I just learned that I can ask questions. Lovely questions, Drew. They're coming through thick and fast. Yes. Oh. Yeah, some real affirmations. So they really noticed the difference. There's been a real difference in the trend from the beginning through to the end. Much more positive. Some really great work is happening here.
Yeah, well, you know, that final question that Drew asked that might have sort of felt, oh, that's going quite far. It's what we call the killer question. It's a killer question. Now, you've got to find your own way of phrasing it. But you know what? It's a sort of save all question, because if there's anything that you haven't said at that point, you get another chance. Also, it shows how committed you are to the interview and to the job as well. Mark, I think we've got a load more chat. I can see it coming through. What's going on? What are they saying?
It's great. Somebody says, I never, Makadia, I never thought we could ask questions. So this is really good. You know, I never thought we could ask these kind of questions. And then somebody else is saying, affirming, saying, no, yes, you can ask. And then somebody else, I'm too afraid to ask. I would be, I think is what they mean to say, too afraid to ask the last question.
Okay.
As you said, you know.
Well, here's the thing. If you make the choice. It's at the end of the day, it's your interview. But no one's going to not hire you for not asking that question. No one. Because as long as you phrase it politely and you mean it, no one will not hire you. But I wonder if there's people out there that might just be a bit impressed by that question and might just put you ahead of someone else when they've interviewed hundreds of fantastic potential students and you're the only one that does it. Because this whole thing was about standing out, about being different from other people, about the superhuman skills. And this is what we're looking for. So guys, this is your chance. We thought we'd open it up to you. Oh, go on, Mark. Yeah.
Yes, there are a couple more questions coming through.
Okay.
Do we have any particular dress code while attending any online interview? There's one question. And the second question, would someone still be impressed if they don't ask a question? Or would somebody still impress if they don't ask a question?
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we get everybody on, back on, all my team. So if we invite all of the actors back on. Tom, I think you lost your job in terms of the question and answers. I think it all ended up in the chat like you did actually say.
The roving reporter has got my job. What can I say?
But having you on has been fantastic. It's great to have you on. Okay, let's talk about that question first of all. So that first question was, what about dress code? What do we all think about that? Because I've got my own thoughts on it. What do you guys think in terms of dress code? Is there a particular dress code for interview? What's it been like in your experience?
If I may, Deb, my personal opinion is this. Nobody would ever not hire you for how you were dressed, I believe, if you did an excellent interview and knew exactly what you were talking about and were right for the job. However, you can dress in the smartest suit or whatever you want. If you're not able to communicate, then what does it really matter? That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I think somebody's put in the chat actually that dress smarter than, there's a saying, isn't there? Dress the job you want, not the job you're going for. I just think when in doubt, just wear something a bit smarter than a say sweatshirt, because people will make judgments based on how you look, even though we know they shouldn't, but they will. That's what happens. So if you've got just like a plain white shirt on or a shirt on, whatever, your gender identity is, that's going to work, I think. Or just something that looks smart and clean looking. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say from where I stood wearing obviously the commented on orange jumper, I felt very comfortable in it. I felt confident in it, and it helped me be the person I wanted to be in the interview. But if you don't feel that way about something you're wearing, then change it. That's what I would say. It's about how you feel within yourself. Because I mean, and like Denny says, there will be someone who's going to judge you. But if you're feeling unconfident and you feel that you might be judged, change. I think that's a really easy way to go about it.
Sorry, Joe, you were going to answer.
Yeah, just one final thing in this weird virtual box we find ourselves in, and to Denny's point of just looking beforehand, because some things make your camera go. I was in a stripy top the other day and realized that it was doing weird things to the camera. And I've also had people on Zoom that look like they're wearing pajamas. And I do wonder whether, that top, I mean, even this top I've got today could be pajamas, couldn't it? But thinking about what that sort of top of your top looks like in this virtual world, it could be that you might change your mind if you see yourself.
Can I just add to that, Joe? Because I think it's a really good point, that the idea of wearing something that contrasts with the background you're going to be against. So again, I think about standing out and people really being able to see you, helping as much as the point that Denny was making about the lighting can be good. I think that, and obviously I think if you are going to do a Zoom thing and you're sat there on Zoom dressed in your top hat and tails, you might look a bit out of place, because there is something slightly different about what we wear when we're actually on Zoom as to when we're in real life. But I think, to the point that, I think Drew's made very well about feeling comfortable. at the same time, you can also kind of go, you know, if you're going to go out for a special occasion, then maybe you might dress up a bit. And so you'd still feel comfortable dressed up for the occasion. So you might want to reframe mentally how you feel about the interview. Actually, it's a great chance to wear something a bit special, maybe.
Yeah.
Good point. And guess what? No one knows. Oh, go on, Tom. Yeah, go on.
I was also going to say that a picture is different from reality. So looking in a mirror is not the same as looking at yourself in your Zoom image on the screen. So actually, before you have your meeting, you can look at your video settings and you can see, oh, does that really look like that? That's also the moment when you realize that, oh, I shouldn't really have that picture behind me or whatever. So actually looking at the screen, at your Zoom image is different from how you think you look.
Yeah, good point.
We have a question on the question and answer page, actually, Tom. So I thought I would hand over to you.
Wait.
Yeah, there's one.
Oh, yes. Right. Regarding to the judging, what if someone stammers on the interview? Is that a minus point for the whole interview and the impression?
Oh, fantastic question. I would say it most definitely shouldn't be. What would you say, Denny? Because I know that you'd have some views on this.
Yeah, I think it really shouldn't make a difference. And if you know people can be nervous, or if it is something that's part of you, then you can just explain that. Yeah, I do this in certain situations. I think you know yourself, and if it's just part of who you are, you say that. You shouldn't be being judged for that. And if you do, it's really shame on them. But you know, and it can happen to anybody. I think it's just about being as kind of comfortable with being who you are on camera.
Yeah, I think that's that really well put, Denny. And I think this is the thing. It's you shouldn't be judged on it. And a good interviewer should put you at ease. If it's coming from a place of just being very nervous, they should recognize it, put you at ease. You know, they do understand. A lot of these people are interviewing students, a lot of young people, and they know that there's less experience of interviews. They know that there's going to be nerves. And we hope that they've been trained well and they make it a good experience for you. But, you know, this allows me to say that this is a two-way thing, an interview. You are also interviewing them in a way. You know, this could be your first big job. You want to feel happy. You want to be motivated and excited. And you want to work for someone that actually also has good human skills, that has empathy and listens and sees you for what you are as well. But Mark, I think we've got some more chat coming in. We've got a few raised hands, and I'm going to be completely honest, I have no idea what to do with raised hands.
Well, I raised it, yes, I didn't want to interrupt your flow. Another question has come in from Rita. Is there anything like naturally connecting with the interviewers?
Anything like naturally connecting?
Yes, I think Rita's talking along the lines of charisma, perhaps, or of finding a natural way to engage with somebody.
This is a fantastic question, and it's something we've all been grappling with, Joe's nodding, for the last 14, 15 months. My view is, and we'll all have a different view, is it's being as comfortable as you can be on camera. And that isn't an easy thing to do, but the more you do it and do it with friends, do it with people you feel safe and comfortable with, the more comfortable you are. So like, when Siri interrupted me at that moment, Siri never normally even talk. When I try and talk to Siri usually ignores me. So that was quite an unusual thing. But, because I do a lot of this, it was just like, I could do that quite naturally with you rather than it really throwing me. So it's about really getting as comfortable as you can. And then not worrying too much, because people understand that unless you're on camera all the time, you're not going to be, so we're not superhuman. We just have to be the best we are and be sort of real with it. That's my view, but everyone will have other views.
Okay. Joe, did you want to say something? And then we'll have a look at the other people that have got their hands raised.
Yeah, I completely agree with Denny. And don't forget to pay attention to what's happening with them. Naturally, when we're face to face, we naturally pick up on the energy level of the person we're meeting, and we should try and meet them where they are. If we're very high energy and someone's very low energy, it can feel uncomfortable. And because this environment makes us a bit self-conscious and there's a tendency to look at ourselves, we can forget to pay attention to the energy of the other person. So although I completely agree with what Denny said, I think we also then need to pay attention to what's going on there, and try and match that as best we can.
Yeah, great answer. Okay, Mark, what other things we got come up with? Got a couple of people with their hands raised. Or can you see it, Tom?
We've got one hand raised in the participants, and it's from Jason Joseph. So I don't know if he's got a question he would like to ask, but his hand's been raised in the chat for a while. No, it's gone off now. I think he's just noticed he left it on. So there you go.
Okay, great.
Okay, there might be another question in the Q&A though.
No,
we've got all of that.
No.
Okay, anything else in the chat box that we ought to have a look at, Mark?
There was the question around not saying anything. Oh, there's a new message just come in. Oh no, it's Jason is apologizing. So the question about, there's no need, absolutely no need to apologize. About not saying anything at the end, the idea that you would just...
that was it, yes, we were going to get onto that, weren't we? Yeah, obviously you might get to that point where they've covered everything. They've answered every question and you're like, I don't know what to ask. The thing is, there'll always be something. What I would say is don't wait in the moment to think of a question. Have some questions written down. And then at the end, tell them, I'm just going to have a look at my questions that I prepared. Yes, you've answered, there's just one left. You know, and if they've all gone, you can at least say, well, actually, I've got all my questions here and you've answered them all. So I'm just going to ask you, is there anything else that you need from me at this point? The killer question.
So
I can't tell you how much that will help. Yes.
So Deb, just on the killer question, sorry, Princess has wrote in the chat. She said it's a bit tricky. You must have framed it. You must think you've framed it politely, but it may not be sitting well with the interviewers. So I just want to say, as someone who has used this exact line in an interview, it doesn't put them off. It shocks them into thinking they sit back a bit and go, oh wow, this person's prepared and this person knows what he wants. I've used it more than 5 times and it works. So I'm just going to give you that as some with experience of using it.
Yeah, and it's just the way I did it just then. I've looked at my questions. There's nothing else on my list. Well, the only thing I want to ask now is there anything else you need from me? Is there anything I haven't told you? One last question. I think we've got one.
Another question coming through. How do we put first good impression in face-to-face interview?
Oh, yes. Well, now we've been talking a lot about virtual because obviously we're in a virtual situation. But you know what? There's going to be some physical things in face-to-face. And I'm going to I'll give one or two, and then maybe the actors they're the best people in the world to give you feedback on this. But for me, it's about eye contact. And also, if we're allowed, the handshake says a lot. That initial connection that you have. And a lot of business people in the old days, whether it'll still be the case, put out their hand and they do judge you based on what handshake you give. And it's usually that you need to have that skin on skin, not ridiculously firm where you break their hands, but certainly where you make a connection and it's firm and confident. Well, anything else that you guys want to say?
Just one from me. Saying in the absence of a handshake, eye contact and saying your name slowly and clearly when you introduce yourself so that the other person can really hear it can often take the place of that impact of the handshake. Yeah,
that's good. That's good feedback.
I also think there's something about being ready before you go into a room. Actors' terminology is running in the wings. That means that you're getting yourself mentally, physically prepared before you walk into that situation so that you don't go on that stage, as it were, or that interview situation where suddenly the searchlights are on you and you are a rabbit in the headlights. You've got to be in that mental state of readiness. And then when you are grounded in that way, that confidence will come through. And that's what they want to see. Somebody who looks sure of themselves, not arrogant, anything like that. I don't mean that sort of sure of themselves. I just mean grounded in themselves.
Yeah. Again, that leads back to what Denny was talking about earlier on. It's just, that in a face-to-face, it's the same as, going on a Zoom 5 minutes before and checking how you are and what you look like and making sure you feel comfortable.
I understand, Deb. I'm sorry to interrupt because I know we're running short of time, but people have taken the time to ask these questions. I'm sure you'd want to answer them. Could you ask if there is any concerns they have that you could address, or is that raising a doubt in their mind?
Oh, that's going back to the killer question. No, that's a brilliant question. if they've got doubts in their mind, you're not going to raise them, but if they've got doubts in their minds, then at least get them out so you can deal with them. Because it might be something really silly that you just didn't explain. Because I remember doing it once myself years ago when I was, you know, young and beautiful and all of that. But hey, I'm still beautiful. I'm just old and beautiful. That's all. But I remember asking that question, and they said to me, well, you know, I don't see how you deal with failure. You haven't talked to me about anything where you've been challenged. It's all been so positive. And I was like, oh my goodness. So and it just gave me an opportunity to really talk about that. So absolutely, that's a brilliant. I think it's Liz that's asked that. And I would absolutely say, Liz, that's a really good way of asking that question. Okay, anything else that we need to address, Mark, before we sign off?
I think Joe's answer kind of does lead into a bit of what Aisha's question was, can we improve greetings in present COVID situation? So the thing about stating your name very clearly, presenting yourself clearly, that's a great way to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, this is some of the new things that we're going to have to get used to, isn't it, in terms of our new world, if you like. We've also got a nice little, just to end with, got a nice little comment here. Just wanted to say it's been super helpful. And you know what? I really hope if just one little thing from this session today, with all these amazing people that have you know, come in and helped me out today, Mark and Simon and Joe and Drew and Tom and Denny, one little thing that makes a difference, and you get that dream job and it helps you feel more confident in an interview, even if you don't get the job, but you feel good about what you did, then it's been really worthwhile. The other thing, you know, I strategically placed my book behind me. You know, why wouldn't I? My book is full of tips and help on how to develop your superhuman skills. In fact, the second half of the book is a whole masterclass in what you can do to get those skills. And particularly after this pandemic, a lot of us are going to need help to reboot our human skills because they've been put on hold quite a lot. So yeah, it's a great way of doing that. So I would like to say thank you very much to our hosts, to Pearson and to John Smith. I don't know whether you want to come on and wrap up the webinar. And thank you so much to my team, but particularly thank you to all you students out there listening and giving up your time. And good luck. We wish you all the luck.
Thank you so much. That was amazing.
The last comment was the name of your book again, Deborah.
Oh,
yes.
Stand out.
Stand out. Yeah, 5 skills to enhance your career. And I think we're going to have some sort of special offer or something, Jenny, aren't we?
Yes, it will be on special offer on the JS website. I'm going to be sending everyone an email with the link to the website and also a link to our YouTube channel where the video will be available. So keep an eye out for that. It'll probably be in the next few days, but you will definitely be getting an email from me. And thank you everyone for your session. That was really good. I think I learned a few tips there as well.
Brilliant. Well, you're very welcome. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Zoom wave. Let's do the Zoom wave.
Wait.
We need outro music now, don't we?
Bye.